For 3 years, I worked for Carter Global Technologies, one of the fastest growing companies in Seattle. And for 3 years, I had been secretly in love with the one person everyone in the company was afraid of, Evelyn Carter. Our CEO. People called her the Ice Queen, not because she was cruel, but because she never showed weakness. She could walk into a meeting where 10 executives had been arguing for an hour, glance at the documents for 30 seconds, and say, "Your plan loses money in 6 months. Try again." Nobody argued. Nobody questioned her. Nobody dared. Except me. I was probably the only employee in the entire company who had ever told Evelyn Carter she was wrong. The first time it happened, I thought I was going to be fired. It was during a product strategy meeting. One of the directors suggested cutting a feature because it would save money. Everyone agreed. Everyone except me. I raised my hand. The room went silent. Evelyn looked at me. "Kyle." "Yes." "Do you have something to say?" I swallowed. "I think that decision is a mistake." The entire room froze. The director beside me almost dropped his coffee. Someone actually coughed because they thought they'd heard something impossible. Evelyn leaned back in her chair. "You think my decision is a mistake?" "Yes, because you're looking at the short-term cost, but ignoring long-term customer loyalty." Nobody spoke. I waited for her anger. Instead, she stared at me for a few seconds, then said, "Continue." That was the first time I realized something. Evelyn Carter didn't hate being challenged. She hated being surrounded by people who were too afraid to tell her the truth. After that day, she started coming to me more often. At first, it was only work. "Kyle, check this report." "Kyle, what do you think about this design?" "Kyle, stay for 5 minutes. I need your opinion." 5 minutes became 30. 30 minutes became late-night conversations in an empty office. And somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing her as just my CEO. I started seeing the woman behind the title. The woman who drank coffee without sugar because she forgot to eat breakfast. The woman who secretly kept a box of cookies in her office because she knew I liked them. The woman who once stayed until midnight helping me fix a problem, then casually said, "Don't misunderstand. I only stayed because I needed the project finished." I smiled. Of course, Miss Carter, but I knew better. At least, I thought I did. Until that night, the night everything changed. I was sitting on my couch after work when my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the notification. Asterisk Evelyn Carter posted an update. Asterisk my heart stopped for a second. I don't know why. Maybe because every notification from her still affected me. Maybe because some stupid part of me hoped she would finally say something I'd waited years to hear. I opened it, and I saw the picture. Evelyn was wearing an elegant dress, standing beside a man I didn't recognize. The caption was simple. Asterisk a new chapter begins. Asterisk below, it were thousands of comments. "Congratulations. Best wishes." Everyone was celebrating. I stared at the screen. Then I saw the words that destroyed every hope I had secretly carried. Asterisk Evelyn Carter is getting married. Asterisk for a few minutes. I didn't move. I just looked at the screen. I thought about every late-night conversation. Every time she looked at me differently. Every moment I thought maybe I wasn't imagining it. Maybe she felt something too. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe, to her, I was just a talented employee. Someone useful. Someone she trusted. Nothing more. I laughed quietly. Asterisk of course. "Kyle." Asterisk I put the phone down. I didn't cry. I wasn't angry. What right did I have to be angry? She was my boss. She was a woman millions of people admired. And I was just Kyle Bennett, a guy who spent his nights fixing code and convincing himself that impossible things could happen. I picked up my phone again. My finger hovered over the screen. I wanted to ask her. I wanted to know who he was. I wanted to ask why she never told me. But I didn't. Instead, I did the only thing I could do. I liked the post. One simple click. A small congratulations. A quiet goodbye. Then I turned off my phone. The next morning, I would submit my resignation. I would leave Carter Global. I would move on. At least, that was what I told myself. I placed my phone on the table and went to sleep. I had no idea that while I was sleeping, the woman who controlled a billion-dollar company was completely losing control. Because by midnight, Evelyn Carter had called me 37 times. By 2 a.m., she had called me 89 times. And when the sun came up, my phone showed one unbelievable number, 199 missed calls, all from Evelyn Carter. The woman who never chased anyone. The woman who never begged anyone. The woman who made everyone else wait. Evelyn was desperately trying to reach me. I stared at the screen. My hands went cold. Then my phone rang again. Her name appeared. Evelyn Carter. I hesitated. Then I answered. For 3 seconds. Nobody spoke. Finally, I heard her voice, but it wasn't the cold, confident voice of my CEO. It was different, almost nervous. Kyle. I sat up. Yes. A pause. Then she asked the question I never expected. Why did you only like my wedding announcement and then disappear? I frowned. Because I wanted to congratulate you. Another silence. Then her voice became quieter. Kyle, do you really think I'm marrying someone else? I froze. What? Her breathing changed. Then she said, the man in that picture. He's my brother. I stared at the phone. My brain stopped working. What? And for the first time in 3 years, I heard Evelyn Carter laugh. Not the polite CEO smile, but a real laugh. Yet there was something else in her voice. Relief and frustration. Kyle Bennett, do you have any idea what you just did? I swallowed. What did I do? She answered immediately. You broke the heart of the woman who was trying to tell you she loved you. I stopped breathing. Because those words came from Evelyn Carter, the Ice Queen. My CEO? The woman I thought I had already lost. And suddenly, I realized the biggest mistake of my life wasn't loving her. It was believing she could never love me back. I stayed silent for several seconds, not because I didn't have anything to say, but because my brain couldn't process what I had just heard. Evelyn Carter, my CEO, the woman who could negotiate billion-dollar deals without blinking. The woman who could fire an entire department with one sentence. The woman everyone called emotionless had just told me she loved me. I finally managed to speak. Wait. I need you to repeat that. I heard her sigh. Kyle. No. Seriously. Repeat it. Her voice became slightly annoyed. I said I love you. I grabbed my phone tighter. You're telling me you love me? Yes. After I liked your wedding announcement and went to sleep? Yes. And you called me 226 times because of that. There was a long silence. Then she said, actually, I waited. 227. I blinked. What? One more call came through after midnight. For the first time that morning, I laughed. I couldn't help it. The image of Evelyn Carter, the terrifying CEO who made executives nervous, sitting there and repeatedly calling me. It was impossible. You called me 227 times. Yes. Why? Her answer came instantly. Because you disappeared. I looked down. I was going to resign. The line went quiet. I knew immediately she didn't like hearing that. Why? Her voice changed, not angry, but hurt. Why would you resign? I leaned back. Because you're getting married. Kyle, you posted it. I posted a photo with my brother. I didn't know that. And instead of asking me, you decided to leave. I didn't answer. Because she was right. I had spent years convincing myself that I was being respectful, that I was protecting myself. But maybe I had just been running away. Evelyn spoke again. You know what bothered me the most? You didn't even ask if I was happy. I frowned. You didn't ask who he was. You didn't ask why. You didn't call me. Her voice became quieter. You just liked the post. I felt guilty. Because she was right. I had treated her announcement like a final goodbye, without giving her a chance to explain. I thought. I sighed. I thought you finally chose someone else. Another silence. Then Evelyn asked, Kyle, do you really think I would spend 3 years looking for excuses to talk to you if I didn't care? My heart skipped. 3 years. She noticed. She remembered everything. I looked at the clock. I was supposed to go to the office and submit my resignation. Instead, I was sitting there talking to the woman I had secretly loved for years. Evelyn. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? That you liked me. She didn't answer immediately. For the first time, she sounded unsure. Because I was afraid. I almost laughed. Evelyn Carter afraid. That sounded impossible. You. Yes. Me. She continued. I know what people think about me. They think I'm cold. They think I only care about winning. They think I don't need anyone. Her voice softened. But you were the only person who never treated me like a CEO. I looked away. Because I knew exactly what she meant. Everyone around Evelyn respected her. But they respected the position, the power, the money. I was the only one who would tell her, you're wrong, or you need to sleep, or you can't drink coffee for dinner. She hated those comments. But she always listened. I didn't know how to tell you, she admitted. So you decided to announce a fake wedding. She became quiet. I raised an eyebrow. Evelyn. Okay. Okay. Yes. You admit it. Yes. I almost smiled. You actually did that. I wanted to see your reaction. My reaction. Why? Her answer was honest. Because I was tired of waiting. I froze. What? I spent years wondering if you felt the same. She took a breath. You were always kind. Always there. But you never crossed the line. I looked down. Because that was true. I never told her. I never confessed. Because she was my CEO. Because I thought she deserved someone better. Someone who belonged beside her. Not someone who worked under her. I thought you were happy for me, she said. I wasn't. The words came out before I could stop them. The line became silent. Then she asked, why? I closed my eyes. Because there was no point hiding anymore. Because I loved you. Nothing. No response. Then I heard her whisper. Say it again. I smiled slightly. You heard me. Kyle. Her voice was different, softer. Please. I looked at my phone. Then I said, I love you. Evelyn. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then I heard something unexpected, a shaky breath. Like she was trying not to cry. I waited 3 years to hear that. My chest tightened. You could have told me. I'm your CEO. You're also a person. She laughed softly. You always say things like that. Because they're true. Another pause. Then she said, come to the office. I hesitated. Why? Because you were planning to resign. I looked at my resignation letter sitting on the table. She knew me too well. You saw my email. No. Then how? Kyle. You always tap your fingers 3 times when you're nervous. I froze. What? You did it during yesterday's meeting. I looked at my hand, without realizing it. I was doing it again. 3 taps. She noticed. She always noticed. I'll send a car. No. No. I can drive myself. Fine. But come. Evelyn. Kyle. Her tone became serious. Not CEO serious. But something else. Yesterday, you thought you lost me. Today, I need you to understand something. You were never someone I wanted to lose. My heart moved. Then she added, and Kyle, yeah, don't ignore my calls again. I smiled. How many times are you going to call next time? A small pause. Then she answered, completely seriously, as many as necessary. The call ended. I looked at the resignation letter, then at the phone. Yesterday, I thought I was walking away from Evelyn Carter. But now I knew the truth. The coldest woman in Seattle had been waiting for me to turn around. And for the first time in my life, I wondered if maybe I was the one who had been too afraid. I arrived at Carter Global 40 minutes later. Usually, walking into the headquarters made me nervous. Not because of the building, not because of the executives, but because every time I stepped inside, I remembered one thing. Evelyn Carter was above me. She was the CEO, and I was just Kyle Bennett, a software engineer who happened to know how to make her laugh when nobody else could. But that day was different. For the first time, I wasn't walking into the company as her employee. I was walking in as the man she had called 200 times. The security guard at the entrance looked at me strangely. Kyle, yeah. He checked the tablet in front of him. Miss Carter told us to let you go directly upstairs. I nodded. Asterisk, of course she did. Asterisk, that was Evelyn. She didn't ask. She decided. I stepped into the elevator. And before the doors closed, I heard 2 employees whispering behind me. Is that Kyle? And yeah, the guy from yesterday. What happened? I don't know. But apparently, the CEO canceled her entire morning schedule because of him. I pretended I didn't hear, but my heart was beating faster. Because I knew something, Evelyn Carter never canceled anything. Not meetings. Not negotiations. Not business trips. Nothing. Yet she canceled everything for me. When I reached the top floor, her assistant, Sarah, stood up immediately. Kyle. Morning. Sarah. She smiled. You have no idea how relieved I am to see you. I frowned. Why? She lowered her voice. Because yesterday was terrifying. Terrifying. She nodded. I have worked for Miss Carter for 5 years. I have seen her handle hostile investors, angry employees, and billion-dollar losses. She looked toward Evelyn's office. But I have never seen her panic. I didn't know what to say. Sarah smiled slightly. She really cares about you. Before I could answer, the office door opened. Kyle. Evelyn stood there, black suit, perfect posture. The same CEO everyone feared. But her eyes were different. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept, like she had spent the entire night worrying about one thing, me. Come in. I followed her inside. The door closed. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Evelyn walked to her desk and picked up a document, my resignation letter. I froze. You found it. I didn't find it. She placed it on the table. You left it in the printer. I looked away. That's embarrassing. No. She looked at me. It's heartbreaking. That sentence surprised me. Evelyn Carter didn't use words like that. not with employees, not with anyone. Kyle, yes. Do you really think leaving was the answer? I stayed quiet. She continued. You thought I was marrying another man, so you decided to disappear. I didn't want to interfere. Interfere. Her voice rose slightly. Kyle, you are not some stranger trying to interrupt my life. I looked at her. Then what am I, eh? She stopped. The question hung between us. For a woman who could answer any business question instantly, she struggled. Finally, she walked closer. You're the person I look for when something good happens. I didn't move. You're the person I want to tell when something goes wrong. Another step. You're the person who makes me forget I'm Evelyn Carter, CEO of Carter Global. My throat tightened. Then why the fake wedding? She looked down, and for the first time, I saw regret on her face. Because I made a mistake. I didn't expect that answer. Evelyn Carter admitting she was wrong. Rare. Very rare. I wanted to know if you would care. I frowned. That's not fair. I know. She immediately admitted it. I know it wasn't fair. Her honesty caught me off guard. I'm used to controlling everything, my company, my schedule, my future. Then she looked at me. But I couldn't control you. I didn't know how to respond. You never tried to impress me. She smiled faintly. You argued with me. I remember. You told me my presentation was boring. It was. She almost laughed. You told me I worked too much. You do. You told me I needed to eat lunch. You still skip it. A small smile appeared on her face. That's why I liked you. The room became quiet. Then she said, everyone else sees the CEO. She pointed at herself. But you saw me. I looked at her. And suddenly, all those moments came back. The late nights. The small conversations. The way she remembered things nobody else noticed. Evelyn. Yes. Who was the man in the picture? She sighed. My brother. Your brother. Yes. Why didn't you say that? Because the caption was intentionally vague. I stared. You really planned this? She nodded. I thought you would ask. I laughed once. That was your plan? Yes. And when you didn't ask? Her expression changed. I realized I had underestimated how much you were willing to walk away. That hit me. Because it was true. I had spent years believing I wasn't enough. Not rich enough. Not powerful enough. Not important enough. So the moment I thought she chose someone else, I left before she could reject me. Evelyn walked closer. Kyle, I looked at her. I need to ask you something. What? Yesterday, when you saw my post. She paused. Did you only feel sad because you were losing your CEO? I knew exactly what she was asking. And this time, I didn't run. No. Then why? I answered honestly. Because I thought I was losing you. Her eyes softened. That's all I needed to know. I smiled slightly. Really? Yes. She picked up the resignation letter, then slowly tore it in half. I stared. Evelyn, you're not resigning. I'm the CEO. That's exactly why I'm worried. She looked at me, then unexpectedly smiled. Not the professional smile. Not the cold CEO smile. A real smile. Relax. I'm not ordering you to stay. Then what are you doing? Her voice became gentle. I'm asking. The woman who could command thousands of employees was asking me. Kyle, stay. My heart stopped. Not because I'm your CEO. She looked directly into my eyes. Because I'm the woman who loves you. I didn't answer immediately. Because this time I wasn't afraid. But before I could say anything, there was a knock on the door. Evelyn's expression changed. The CEO returned. Come in. Her assistant entered. Miss Carter, the board members are waiting. Evelyn nodded. Then Sarah added. They want an explanation about yesterday's announcement. Evelyn looked at me, then said something I never expected. Good. Sarah looked surprised. Good. Evelyn held my hand, right in front of her assistant. Yes, because they're about to learn something. She looked at me. Kyle isn't someone I'm hiding anymore. And at that moment, I realized something. The woman who once hid her feelings behind power was about to choose me in front of everyone. I had seen Evelyn Carter walk into countless meetings. Every time, the room changed. Executives stopped talking. Managers sat straighter. People who had been arguing for 20 minutes suddenly remembered they had somewhere else to be. That was the effect she had. She didn't need to raise her voice. She didn't need to threaten anyone. Her presence was enough. But that day was different. Because I wasn't standing behind her as an employee. I was standing beside her. And everyone noticed. The moment Evelyn and I entered the boardroom, every person inside turned toward us. There were 8 board members, all powerful, all experienced, all people who were used to seeing Evelyn make decisions alone. The man sitting at the end of the table, Richard Hayes, looked between us. Then he frowned. Evelyn. His eyes moved to our hands. Because Evelyn was still holding mine. You want to explain what's happening? I expected her to let go. I expected her to return to being the untouchable CEO everyone knew. But she didn't. She tightened her grip. Then she said, "Of course." The room became silent. "This is Kyle Bennett." Richard nodded. "We know who he is. He's an employee." Evelyn's expression didn't change. "No." She looked at everyone. "He's the man I love." The silence that followed was heavier than anything I had ever experienced. I could hear someone quietly put down a pen. One of the board members looked shocked. Another exchanged a glance with someone beside him. Richard leaned back. "Evelyn, this is a company, not a personal. Don't finish that sentence." Her voice was calm, but everyone stopped. She continued, "I have spent years making decisions for this company. I built this company by understanding risks." Richard nodded. "Then you understand why this is concerning." "Yes." Evelyn didn't deny it. "That's why I'm addressing it." She looked at me, then back at them. "Kyle has never received special treatment." Richard raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure?" "Yes." Her answer was immediate. "Actually, he has been harder on me than anyone here." I almost smiled. That was true. I was probably the only person in the company who dared tell Evelyn, "Your idea is terrible," or "You're wrong," or "You need to sleep." Richard looked unconvinced. "You're willing to risk your reputation for him?" Evelyn didn't hesitate. "I'm willing to be honest about something I should have admitted a long time ago." The room became quiet again. I built a company where everyone is expected to speak the truth. So I refused to hide my own truth. I looked at her, and for the first time, I understood something. Evelyn wasn't afraid of losing power. She was afraid of losing me. The meeting continued for almost an hour. Questions, concerns, doubts. But Evelyn answered every single one calmly, confidently, without apologizing for loving me. When the meeting finally ended, I followed her back to her office. The moment the door closed, I let out a breath. That was insane. She looked at me. "What? You just announced to the entire board that you love me." "Yes." Like it was nothing. She tilted her head. "It wasn't nothing." I stopped. "What?" She walked closer. "It was the hardest thing I've ever done." I was surprised. "You looked completely calm." "That's because I've spent my whole life pretending I'm not afraid." Her voice softened. "But yesterday, when I thought you were gone." She looked away for a moment. I realized there was something I couldn't replace. I didn't say anything, because I understood. For someone like Evelyn, admitting she needed someone was harder than any business decision. "Why me?" The question came out quietly. She looked at me. "What do you mean? You could choose anyone." She smiled. "Kyle, what? Do you really still not understand?" I stayed silent. She sighed. "You're the only person who never wanted anything from me." I frowned. "That's not true." "Yes, it is." She counted on her fingers. "Investors want my money. Employees want promotions. Partners want contracts. People want the CEO." Then she pointed at me. "You want me to eat lunch." I laughed. "That's different." "No." She smiled. "That's exactly why it's different." I looked down. I didn't know what to say, because all this time I thought my biggest problem was that I wasn't good enough for her. But maybe I had misunderstood. Maybe she never wanted someone who matched her status. Maybe she wanted someone who treated her like a normal person. A few minutes later, Evelyn's assistant knocked. "Kyle." "Yeah." She held out a folder. "This was delivered for you." I opened it. Inside was a contract. My eyes widened. "What is this?" Evelyn looked away. "I was going to give it to you yesterday." I looked at the first page, my name. A new position. A promotion. A leadership role. I looked at her. "You created this?" "Yes." "Before I resigned?" "Yes." "Why?" She answered simply. "Because I wanted you beside me." I stared. "Evelyn," she quickly added. "Not because I'm the CEO." She stepped closer. "Because I believe in you." That meant more than the promotion. Because for years, I had always felt like I was standing in her shadow. But she wasn't asking me to stand behind her. She was asking me to stand beside her. That evening, we left the office together for the first time, not as a CEO and employee, but as two people trying to figure out what came next. Outside the building, I stopped. "Evelyn." "Yes." "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Those 200 calls." She looked embarrassed. I smiled. "Did you really keep calling because you thought I wouldn't answer?" She looked away. "Maybe. Maybe yes." I laughed. The woman who could negotiate with billionaires was embarrassed about calling me too many times. "That's actually cute." She immediately looked serious. "I am not cute." I raised an eyebrow. "You called someone 200 times." I was concerned. You were panicking. I was not. You were. She looked at me. Then after a second, she admitted. Fine. I smiled. And then she did something completely unexpected. She reached for my hand in public. In front of everyone walking out of the building. No hiding. No hesitation. Just Evelyn Carter holding my hand. Kyle, yeah, I need you to promise me something. What? Next time you think I'm leaving? She looked at me. Ask me first. I nodded. I promise. She smiled. Good. Then she leaned closer and whispered, because I don't plan on letting you run away again. I laughed, but deep down I knew something had changed. The woman who once controlled everything had finally given me control over the one thing that mattered, her heart. The next morning, something strange happened. I walked into Carter Global, and people weren't looking at me like they used to. Before yesterday, I was just Kyle Bennett, the engineer who worked hard, the guy who stayed late, the employee who occasionally disagreed with the CEO. But now everyone knew. Kyle Bennett was the man Evelyn Carter loved. And honestly, I had no idea how to handle that. I stepped out of the elevator and immediately heard two employees stop talking. Morning, Kyle. Morning. They smiled too much. I looked at them suspiciously. What? One of them laughed. Nothing. That wasn't a normal nothing. The other employee shook his head. We're just surprised about. He lowered his voice. About the fact that Miss Carter actually has feelings. I almost laughed. That's what everyone thinks. Yes. Why? He looked serious. Because nobody has ever seen her care about anyone. I didn't answer. Because I knew something they didn't. Evelyn Carter cared deeply. She just spent years hiding it. When I arrived at my desk, I found a coffee waiting. I looked around. Nobody was there. Then I saw a small note. Asterisk, drink it before it gets cold. The asterisk, I smiled. Only one person in the entire company would write a note like that. I picked up the coffee. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Evelyn. Asterisk, did you drink it? Asterisk, I replied. Asterisk, good morning to you too. Asterisk, a few seconds later. Asterisk, answer the question. Asterisk, I laughed. Asterisk, yes. Asterisk, another message appeared. Asterisk, good. Asterisk, I stared at the screen. That was it. Just good. I typed. Asterisk, you know. Normal people say good morning first. Asterisk, her reply came quickly. Asterisk, good morning. Kyle, drink your coffee. Asterisk, I smiled. The CEO of a billion-dollar company was reminding me to drink coffee. It was ridiculous. And somehow, I loved it. Around noon, things changed. I was called to the main conference room. When I entered, I immediately noticed something was wrong. Several executives were there, including Richard Hayes, the same board member who questioned Evelyn yesterday. He looked at me. Kyle, Richard, he placed a folder on the table. We need to discuss your position. I looked at Evelyn. She was sitting at the head of the table. Calm, focused, but I knew her. Something was bothering her. Richard opened the folder. There are concerns about whether your promotion was based on professional ability or personal relationship. I expected Evelyn to respond, but she didn't. She looked at me, not because she didn't know what to say, but because she wanted me to answer for myself. That was Evelyn. She believed in me. I looked at Richard. Are you asking whether I earned my position? Yes. Then look at my work. I pointed at the documents. My project increased customer retention by 18%. I continued. The software update I designed reduced operating costs by 12%. Nobody spoke. I looked around. I never asked Evelyn for special treatment. Richard crossed his arms. But you were dating the CEO? Yes. I admitted it. And I'm proud of that. Everyone looked surprised. I continued. But my relationship with Evelyn doesn't erase my ability. The room was silent. Then Evelyn finally spoke. Kyle is right. Everyone looked at her. She stood. This company was not built by people who were afraid of uncomfortable conversations. She looked directly at Richard. If you believe Kyle is not qualified, review his results. She placed a file on the table. But if you are questioning him because he is with me. Her voice became colder. Then you are questioning my judgment. Nobody said anything. Because that was Evelyn Carter. The Ice Queen was back. But this time, she wasn't protecting herself. She was protecting me. After the meeting, I followed her into her office. You didn't have to do that. She turned around. Do what? Defend me like that. She frowned. Why not? Because people will say I only got here because of you. She walked closer. Kyle. Yes. Look at me. I did. You know the difference between you and everyone else. What? Everyone else worries about what they can get from me. She touched the folder in my hand. You worry about what I might lose. I didn't answer. Because she was right. I cared about her reputation, her company, her future, sometimes more than my own. She sighed. You know what frustrates me? What? You still don't understand how much I respect you. I smiled slightly. Evelyn Carter respects me. Yes, that's rare. Very. She almost smiled. Don't make me regret admitting it. I laughed. Then she became serious. Kyle, yeah, there's something I need to tell you. The way she said it made me nervous. What? She took a breath. I want to make our relationship public. I froze. Public? Yes. Are you sure? No. That answer surprised me. She continued. I'm scared. I looked at her. Really? Yes. Of what? She looked away. Of losing control. I smiled softly. Evelyn Carter afraid of losing control. Yes. Because of me. She nodded. Because for the first time, there's something I can't solve with money, power, or a business strategy. I understood. Love was the one thing Evelyn Carter couldn't manage like a company. She looked at me. But I want people to know. Why? Because I spent too long pretending I didn't need you. She reached for my hand. And I'm tired of pretending. 2 days later, we held the company-wide meeting. Everyone expected a normal announcement, financial reports, new projects, business updates. Nobody expected Evelyn to walk onto the stage and call my name. Kyle Bennett. My heart stopped. I walked forward. Thousands of employees watched. Evelyn looked at me. Then she did something that shocked everyone. She took my hand, right in front of the entire company. I want everyone here to know something. The room became silent. Kyle is not here because he is my boyfriend. She looked at everyone. He is here because he earned his place. Then she looked back at me. And because he is the person I choose. I felt my chest tighten. The woman who once hid every emotion was choosing me publicly. A few people started clapping. Then more. Soon, the entire room was applauding. I looked at Evelyn. She smiled, a real smile. Then she whispered, "Still think you're not good enough for me?" I laughed. "No. Good." She squeezed my hand. Because I never thought that. At that moment, I finally understood. The woman everyone called ruthless was never cold. She was just waiting for someone she trusted enough to see her heart. And somehow, that person was me. After Evelyn announced our relationship in front of the entire company, I thought things would become easier. I was wrong, not because Evelyn changed, but because the world around her changed. The next few days were chaos. News articles appeared online. Carter Global CEO reveals relationship with employee. Ice Queen CEO finally shows her personal side. Asterisk, is Kyle Bennett the man who changed Evelyn Carter? Asterisk, I wasn't used to attention at work. I was comfortable being the guy nobody noticed. Now everyone knew my name. People who had never spoken to me suddenly wanted conversations. Employees smiled when I walked by. Executives asked for my opinion. And every time I felt uncomfortable, Evelyn noticed. She always noticed. One afternoon, she walked into my office. No announcement. No assistant. Just Evelyn. I looked up. Should I stand up? She raised an eyebrow. Why? Because the CEO entered my office. She walked over and placed a coffee on my desk. Drink. I smiled. You're still doing that? Yes. Why? Because you still forget. I shook my head. You know, for someone who runs a company worth billions, you spend a lot of time worrying about my coffee. She sat across from me. Because my company can survive without coffee. A pause. But I don't like seeing you exhausted. That sentence caught me. Evelyn noticed. What? Nothing. No. She leaned forward. You do that. Do what? Whenever something affects you, you pretend it doesn't. I looked away. She was right again. Kyle. Yeah. You can tell me things. I smiled slightly. You say that like I'm the difficult one. She immediately answered. You are. I laughed. That's unfair. You disappeared after seeing a social media post. I opened my mouth, then closed it, because I had no argument. She smiled. Exactly. But not everything was peaceful. 3 days later, Evelyn received a message from the board, an emergency meeting. I didn't ask, but I knew it was about us. When she returned that evening, she looked different, not defeated. Never that, but tired. I stood up. What happened? She put her phone down. The board wants me to reconsider our relationship. I frowned. Because of me, yeah. Because they think it creates risk. I stayed silent. Then I said the thing I knew she wouldn't like. Maybe they're right. Her expression changed immediately. What? Evelyn. No. She stood. Don't do that. Do what? Decide you're a problem before anyone else can. I froze. Because that was exactly what I was doing. She walked closer. Kyle, you think leaving protects me? I didn't answer. But it doesn't. Her voice softened. It hurts me. I looked at her. She rarely showed emotion. But this time she didn't hide it. You keep thinking you're saving me by walking away. She shook her head. But you don't understand what. You're the one thing I don't want to lose. The next morning, something unexpected happened. Evelyn canceled her schedule, all of it. No meetings, no investor calls, no interviews, nothing. I found out when Sarah called me. Kyle, yeah, can you come to the office? Is something wrong? A pause. Not exactly. What does that mean? She's waiting for you. I arrived 30 minutes later. Evelyn was in her office. No laptop, no documents, no business files. Just her. I looked confused. What's going on? She looked at me. We're going somewhere. Where? You'll see. I laughed. Evelyn, you canceled an entire day of CEO work to surprise me. Yes. Why? She stood and grabbed her coat. Because I realized something. What? I spent years proving I could run a company. She looked at me. But I never proved to you that I could be someone you could rely on. That surprised me. Evelyn, she interrupted. I know you still worry about us. You think one day you'll wake up and realize you don't belong beside me. I looked down. Because she was right. She walked closer. So today, I'm doing something different. What? I'm not being your CEO. She smiled. I'm being your girlfriend. She took me to a small restaurant. Nothing expensive. Nothing fancy. Just a quiet place. I looked around. You chose this? Yes. Why? She looked embarrassed. Actually embarrassed. Because you mentioned it once. When it? 8 months ago. I stared. You remembered that? Yes. You remember something I said 8 months ago. She looked at me like it was obvious. Of course. That was Evelyn. The woman who forgot entire meetings sometimes because she was too busy, but remembered one random sentence I said. I smiled. You really are different with me. She looked down. Maybe because you're the only person I don't want to impress. That hit harder than I expected. After dinner, we walked outside. It was simple, normal, and somehow, it felt more special than any expensive event. Then Evelyn stopped. Kyle, yeah. She looked serious. I need to tell you something. What? The wedding announcement. I didn't just post it to test you. I frowned. Then why? She took a breath. Because my family was pressuring me. I froze. What? She nodded. They wanted me to marry someone from another company. I stared. The guy in the picture, my brother. She rolled her eyes. He was helping me make them stop asking questions. I laughed. So your fake wedding was actually to avoid a real one? Yes. And then you accidentally made me think you were getting married. She looked guilty. Yes. I laughed again. That's the most complicated thing you've ever done. She smiled. I know. Then she became serious. But when I saw you leave, her voice softened. I realized something. What? I don't want a perfect life. She looked at me. I want a life where you're there. For the first time, I had nothing clever to say, no joke, no argument, nothing. Because Evelyn Carter wasn't trying to convince me anymore. She was simply telling me the truth. That night, when she drove me home, she stopped before I got out. Kyle, yeah, promise me something. What? If you're scared. She looked at me. Don't disappear. I nodded. I promise. She smiled. Good. I opened the door. Then she added, oh, and Kylie. I turned back. Yes, you still owe me an answer. About what? Her smile grew. When I said I loved you. My heart skipped. You never said it back properly. I laughed. Evelyn. Yes, I love you. She looked satisfied. Good, good. Yes. Is that all? She nodded. Because now I know you're not running. And as I walked away, I realized something. The woman who once had 200 missed calls because she was afraid of losing me was no longer chasing me because she was scared. She was choosing me because she wanted me. I thought after everything that happened, the hardest part was over. I was wrong. Loving Evelyn Carter was easy. Understanding the world around her was the difficult part. Evelyn and I were happy, for the first time in years. She wasn't just my CEO. She was the woman who texted me every morning. Asterisk, did you sleep enough? Asterisk, the woman who complained when I skipped lunch. The woman who secretly left snacks in my office because she knew I forgot to eat when I was focused. The woman who could negotiate with investors worth billions, but still asked me, asterisk, do you think this dress makes me look too serious? Asterisk, I smiled every time. Because nobody else would believe me if I told them. The ruthless Evelyn Carter had a soft side. And somehow, I was the only one allowed to see it. But then came the problem, the company. One Monday morning, I walked into Carter Global, and immediately noticed something was different. People were quieter. The usual conversations disappeared when I walked by. I looked at Sarah. What happened? She hesitated. Kyle. What? She looked uncomfortable. The board meeting results came out. I frowned. What results? She lowered her voice. They're voting on whether Evelyn should remain CEO. My expression changed. What? Why? They're saying her personal relationship has affected company decisions. I immediately knew this wasn't about business. It was about control. Some people had been waiting for an excuse to challenge Evelyn, and now they thought I was that excuse. I walked toward her office. Before I reached the door, I heard voices inside, Richard and Evelyn. You need to think carefully, Richard said, sounding calm. About what? About your future. A pause. You built this company. Evelyn, don't let one emotional decision destroy everything. I stopped. I knew I shouldn't listen, but I couldn't move. Then I heard Evelyn answer. You think Kyle is an emotional decision? Richard didn't respond. She continued. He is the most rational decision I have ever made. I froze. Richard sighed. You are the CEO? Yes. Then act like one. A few seconds passed. Then Evelyn said, I am. Her voice was cold, powerful, but being CEO doesn't mean I stop being human. I smiled slightly. That was Evelyn. The same woman who could destroy a competitor in negotiations was now defending love. The door opened. Richard saw me. His expression changed. Kyle. I nodded. Richard. He looked between us, then walked away. I entered the office. Evelyn immediately noticed my expression. You heard it. I nodded. She sighed. I didn't want you involved. Too late. She looked away. Kyle. No. I stepped closer this time. You don't get to protect me by pushing me away. She looked surprised. Because those were her words. The same words she had told me before. I smiled. I learned from you. For a moment. She said nothing. Then she laughed softly. You're becoming difficult. You like difficult. She smiled. Yes. That afternoon, the board held another meeting. This time, I was invited. I almost refused. Not because I was afraid, but because I didn't want Evelyn to lose everything because of me. But she stopped me. Kyle. Yeah. Do you trust me? I nodded. Yes. Then trust yourself too. Those words stayed with me. So I walked into that room, not as an employee, not as Evelyn Carter's boyfriend, but as Kyle Bennett, the person who had earned his place. Richard looked at me. We appreciate you joining us. I sat down. Thank you. One board member spoke. Kyle, do you understand the concern? Yes. Then you understand why this relationship creates questions. I nodded. It does. Everyone looked surprised. I continued. But questions don't equal problems. Richard frowned. What do you mean? I opened a folder. I reviewed the last 6 months of company performance. I placed documents on the table. Revenue increased. Customer satisfaction improved. The project I led exceeded expectations. I looked around. If my relationship with Evelyn has damaged this company, the numbers should show it. Nobody spoke. Because they didn't. The facts were there. Then I said something I had never said before. I know many people think I'm here because Evelyn chose me. I looked at her. She did. Her eyes softened. But that doesn't mean I didn't choose her too. The room went silent. I don't need her position. I don't need her money. I don't need her company. I took a breath. I only need the chance to stand beside her. For the first time, I saw Richard lose his confidence. Because he couldn't argue with that. After the meeting ended, Evelyn and I stood outside the boardroom. She didn't speak. Neither did I. Then suddenly, she hugged me. Right there in the hallway. I froze. Because Evelyn Carter wasn't someone who showed affection in public. Not ever. Evelyn. Yes. Everyone can see. I know. You don't care. She pulled back. No. I smiled. Why, Oi? She looked at me. Because I spent too many years caring what everyone thought. A pause. Now I care about what you think. My heart moved. You're different. No. She smiled. I'm finally myself. That evening, we left the office together. Before getting into the car, Evelyn stopped me. Kyle. Yeah. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small box. I froze. What is that? She looked nervous. Actually nervous. I bought this months ago. I stared. Months. She nodded. But I never had the courage to give it to you. My heart started beating faster. She opened the box. Inside was a simple silver bracelet. Not a ring. Not a grand gesture. Just something personal. She handed it to me. Why this? She smiled. Because I wanted you to have something that reminded you. She looked at me. That you belong somewhere. I looked at her. Evelyn. She shook her head. Not because I own you. She smiled. Because you chose to stay. I put it on. And for the first time, I didn't feel like the guy who didn't belong in her world. I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be, with her. Later that night, my phone received a message from Evelyn. Asterisk good night. Kyle. Asterisk I smiled. Then another message came. Asterisk tomorrow. Don't be late. Asterisk I laughed. I replied. Asterisk why? Asterisk her answer came immediately. Asterisk because I'm taking you somewhere. Asterisk I stared at the screen. Asterisk where? Asterisk a few seconds later. Asterisk you'll find out. Asterisk I smiled. I should have known. With Evelyn Carter. Nothing was ever simple. But somehow, that was exactly why I loved her. The next morning, I arrived at Carter Global earlier than usual. Not because I had a meeting. Not because I had a deadline. But because Evelyn told me don't be late. And somehow those 3 words from her sounded more serious than any business order. I walked into the lobby and immediately saw Sarah smiling. I stopped. Why are you looking at me like that? She laughed. Because today is the first day I've ever seen you arrive before Miss Carter. I looked at the clock. Really? Yes. That's embarrassing. Sarah shook her head. No. It's actually cute. I pointed at her. Don't tell Evelyn you said that. Why? Because she'll pretend she doesn't like it. Sarah smiled. She won't deny it. I raised an eyebrow. You're very confident. She nodded. Because everyone knows now. Knows what? That Miss Carter is different when it comes to you. I didn't answer. Because I knew. Everyone saw the change. The woman who used to walk through the company like a storm now smiled more. The woman who never stayed after meetings now sometimes waited for me. The woman who once said emotions complicated decisions now admitted emotions made life meaningful. When I reached my office, I found Evelyn waiting. She was standing by the window, no laptop, no documents, just Evelyn. I smiled. Are you sure you're actually the CEO? She looked at me. What does that mean? The CEO, I knew, always had 3 phones, 5 meetings, and a serious expression. She crossed her arms. Are you saying I'm not serious? No. I smiled. I'm saying you look happier. For a second, she didn't answer. Then she smiled. Maybe I am. That simple sentence meant everything. Because Evelyn Carter was not someone who admitted happiness easily. What's the surprise? She looked at the clock. You'll see. I laughed. You really enjoy making people wait. Yes. You're impossible. And you're still here. I smiled. That's true. She took me to a small private event outside the company. When we arrived, I recognized several people, employees, managers, even some executives. I looked at Evelyn. What is this? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she walked onto the small stage. Everyone became quiet. Then she looked at me. Kyle. I stepped forward. She took my hand again, in front of everyone. I know many people have questions about us. Nobody spoke. But I want to make something clear. She looked around. Kyle Bennett did not change my decisions. A pause. He changed me. My heart moved. She continued. Before him, I thought strength meant never needing anyone. She looked at me. I was wrong. The room was silent. Strength is having someone you trust enough to show your real self. Then she faced me. And Kyle is that person. I didn't know what to say. Because Evelyn Carter, the woman who hated showing weakness, was telling everyone that I was the person who made her feel safe. After the event, we walked outside. For once, there were no cameras, no employees, no board members, just us. I looked at her. You planned all this? Yes. Why? She smiled. Because you once thought you weren't important in my life. I stayed quiet. She continued. I wanted you to see the truth. What truth? That you were never beneath me. She stopped walking. You were beside me from the beginning. I looked at her. Evelyn. She smiled. And I'm sorry it took me so long to say it. I shook my head. You don't have to apologize. Yes, I do. She looked serious. Because I made you feel like you had to leave before you could be hurt. I didn't speak. Because she understood. She understood the part one never said. The reason I never confessed. The reason I ran. I was afraid, not of rejection, but of losing her completely. A few weeks later, things finally settled. The board stopped questioning us. The company continued growing. And Evelyn was still Evelyn, still demanding, still stubborn, still impossible sometimes. But now I knew something. Behind the cold CEO image was a woman who remembered every small thing about me. A woman who called me 200 times because she was afraid. A woman who chose me in front of everyone. One evening, we were sitting together after work. I looked at her. Can I ask you something? She looked up. Of course. Do you regret it? Regret what? Choosing me. She stared at me. Then she looked almost offended. Kyle. Yes. Do you really need to ask? I smiled. I just want to hear it. She shook her head. You're unbelievable. Maybe. She moved closer. Then she said quietly, No, no, I don't regret choosing you. A pause. I regret waiting so long. My heart tightened. Evelyn. She smiled. The first time I realized I loved you was when you told me my presentation was terrible. I laughed. That was romantic. No. She smiled. But it was honest. She leaned against me. And I needed someone honest. Months later, when people asked how Evelyn Carter and I started, everyone expected some dramatic answer, a business deal, a life-changing moment, something complicated. But the truth was much simpler. A cold CEO posted a wedding announcement. The man who loved her thought she was leaving. He liked the post, then went to sleep. And the next morning, she called him 200 times. Because the woman who could control an entire company could not control the one thing that mattered. Her heart. I still tease her about it sometimes. Evelyn. Yes. You know you were the one who chased me. Right. She looks annoyed. I did not chase you. You called me 200 times. That was communication. 2:00. She narrows her eyes. You counted. Of course. She shakes her head. You're impossible. And you love me. She becomes quiet. Then smiles. Yes. And every time she says it, I remember that night. The night I thought I lost her. The night I only liked and left. The night I had no idea that the coldest woman in the world was about to become the warmest person in mine.